Welcome to the Orecast, where we dive deep into what makes you truly awesome. I'm your host, Dorchester Koning, founder of Awe Academy. In every episode, we explore the power of awe, not just as a feeling, but as a tool that transforms how we learn, grow, lead, live, and love. As each guest shares what sparks their curiosity and how they work with wonder, we connect with a deeper sense of awe. So, take a breath and get ready for some interpersonal magic. Welcome to the Orecast. In this episode, I'm talking to Jess, who is one of the founders of Fatopia, an international community of artists, entrepreneurs, activists, academics, and engineers. Fatopia is experimenting with new, more sustainable and resilient ways of living and working in order to rethink the world of tomorrow. Jess is an architect, a mother, and a wonderful human being that cares deeply about community and building a healthy world. She also has a great sense of humor and is fun to be around. Hello, Magiek.
Hello, nice to see you and thank you for having me.
Yes, it's nice to see you. And the one thing I want to say before we start is I love your name because it has the word magic in it. And of course, in Polish, probably it's Polish, I think. Yeah. It might mean something entirely different, but I'm curious about your name. So can you tell me something about your name?
Sure, so my name is Maciek, or like formal name is Maciej, and it basically comes from nephew from Hebrew.
Ah,
So it's
okay.
like just a variation of this.
Yeah.
But since, English speaking people find it easier to just say magic, so and it also, people just remember. So this
Yeah.
is how I ended up with this one.
You ended up with it. And then I also noticed when I met you that it made you smile. So something magic, you like something magic. Can you tell me a little bit more about magic in your life and awe in your life as well?
Yeah, well, I guess the biggest magic that's been happening for me recently was, my journey with Iboga plant medicine.
Hmm.
So that was like the biggest thing that I first used, to heal myself. And then I ended up in for 2 months recently in Gabon to train for a Iboga provider so that I can help other people as well.
Wow. So tell me a little bit about this, how you got to that place. How do you end up from being a regular person in I think you live in Poland, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about what you do for a living or what you do in your life, and then you go into Iboga. How does that
Mhm.
work?
Sure. So, so in my daily life, I'm a video editor or
Hmm.
videographer as well. I do also photos and shoot the videos. Right now, I work for Klaus with the College of Extraordinary Experiences, and I used to do this job for 10 years now. This is like back and forth between different projects, but basically 10 years. And I basically love this job. I like it very much. It's creative and it's there's a lot of awe in it as well.
Hmm.
When you do something and create something out of nothing,
Yeah.
that's a pretty like beautiful moment, like creation moment.
Yes.
But throughout my entire life, I also like wanted to find a way. I mean, two things. I've always felt there's something since I was a teenager. There's something in psychedelics somewhere around that was pulling me towards it. And I always felt like I want to like try it, but also, not necessarily in a way that it's being like a party drug or so on, but in a more, what do you call it, like traditional, whatever way.
Hmm.
And that there was always like lesson in me, lesson in this for me.
Hmm.
And and then, like the regular stuff we get, like midlife crisis, shit goes down, and the life crumbles, and and you end up in the same spot you were last time, and you wonder what the hell am I doing wrong that I'm doing the same mistakes back and forth. So a lot of time doing therapy and different modalities, and working with body and so on and so on.
Hmm.
And all those things helped a lot, but what changed the thing for me the most was actually going to a retreat with Iboga.
Hmm.
And it was also a very interesting experience the way I actually found out about it, because I've been interested in psychedelics for whatever 20 years. So I've been like reading on this, listening to podcasts, whatever I could find knowledge on it, I got it, and I still did not even hear once about Iboga, and I never heard about Iboga. And I remember like listening to a podcast. It was like what, 3 years ago, yeah, 3 years ago, uh, with some Harvard psychiatrist or whatever, and he just mentioned Iboga, like that they did some studies on Ibogaine and so on. And I remember I just started crying, and I didn't understand why. And from that moment, whenever I would just hear to any night podcast about Iboga, because I started, what is it about, right? I would just like,
Wow.
Instantly, and such a deep, movement within me. It was like
Yeah.
clearly something is calling, right? So I started, researching, and I'm like this guy that needs to have everything science based, need to very critical mind, and so on and so on. So, and with this space, it's not so easy, because there's a lot of spiritual bypassing, a lot of different people that do different stuff that doesn't sound reasonable or whatever at all.
Yeah.
So it wasn't easy, but I did find, actually eventually I did find like two providers in Portugal that were trained by the shaman in Gabon, and there was like a large list of studies and so on. It made sense, and sounded reasonable, so I went, and and this made the connection for me that I've been in ever since, and it helped me a lot, unlocked a lot of things for me, and in the end I also decided that I want to go, and since I always wanted to find a way to also transition from a work that's in front of the computer to actual, doing something in the real world, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With real people. Because as much as I love, doing my video editing work, I missed, the actual connection with people. And in the end, just also always wanted to help people in some sort of way. So I was trying to find my way, and this unfolded. So okay, let's go and
Yeah.
see.
Very interesting. And where do you think it will, or where do you feel like it could take you if you go from transition from one job, like the more computer-based work, to working with people? What do you see yourself doing in that?
I mean, this has also like been a part of my healing, that I realized throughout my entire life. I thought I was an introvert, that I was someone who, needs to be closed in front of the computer, whatever, away from people. It was not the case. I'm the opposite. I do need some time alone, but I feel a lot better when I'm around people, actually.
Wow.
Turns out, and it was just the shame and the unworthiness that we get from childhood and so on, that was holding me back, and not also not being honest and not being authentic.
Yeah.
And once I worked this stuff through, it just turned out that, oh, okay, life is actually more interesting outside than it is in the computer. so yeah, so for me it's about just connection, and making something meaningful as well.
Yes. Yeah. I really think that's a beautiful motivation, a very deep inner motivation to be there for people, because we are here on this earth with people. We're not on our own. And I really think that we are meant to be in connection with each other and to be community with each other. And we spoke about this earlier, where we both realized that many people have forgotten about this, or we maybe in our Western societies have kind of unlearned how to be community and how to go through things together. Could you say a little bit about that, what you notice?
Yeah. So that was also a very interesting part of this journey, was not only working with Iboga and training for this, but also just being over there, because it's like basically a middle of the it's not the middle of the jungle, because it's next to a main road, but it is a middle of the jungle. There's nothing else over there. And they still, yeah, they do have technology, they do have cars, whatever, but phones, right, and so on. They use internet, but still they live in a way, in this communal way. So this shaman's daughter, which is like free, she was just roaming around between different people, and throughout the day she spent like at least half of a day, if not more, with someone else other than than her parents.
Mm-hmm.
And and this makes you actually think about how we ended up being by ourselves in our apartments. We used to live in a communal way, even like what, 2 generations ago, with our parents and so on. This is how the lives look like, right?
Yeah.
And they still live like this, and and it's incredible how much it impacts our lives.
Yes.
And not to mention like fertility rate, right? Because they try to make it about money and so on, but it's not at all about this. It's completely different stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it also like is that, but and also like the way that they see relationships, they get into relationships. This is completely different than how we think in the West. And and also the part of the actual tradition, and how it really makes sense and how it connects. And I can share the story about the welcoming ceremony that I've had over there. This is like just to give you an idea. This is just a temple that has basically just a dirt ground, and there's just wooden ceiling, and just benches, like concrete benches around. And this is what the temple looks like. And they do like something that they call welcoming ceremony. It does not even involve much iboga, so you don't get high or whatever during that ceremony, other than on music and dancing, because this is what it's all about. They start at 9 p.m. and sometimes it lasts overnight. That was the case in when I was over there. It happens a couple of times a year, and then they finish after next morning, or it sometimes lasts 2 days or 3 days, and they just go on and play the music. I mean, sing and dance and play the instruments throughout the entire night. I can last like 15 minutes at the pace they are doing this. This is
Wow.
just amazing.
So also physically, it's very
intense. It's so intense that it's and they get normally during the day they seem like lazy would be a bad word, but they are just chill and slow and they take their time. But then they just become they just start playing and dancing and so on. And during that night I was mostly filming and to get some footage, but also I was like kind of like stuck in my head and just judging with my Western mind, like what are they doing? They're just, oh, I'm tired, oh, I want to go to school, and so on and so on, like this. And in the middle of the night we just had two simple like rituals. Like we just washed ourselves from the bucket, and then people just painted themselves, and then they just started dancing again, dressed up and painted, and they just became someone else. Like they became some sort of entities, creatures, whatever, not human beings, while dancing. And I found myself in the morning after this entire night that I kind of grew up, that I understood what it means to be a man by this symbolic way of them showing this.
Yeah, like a passageway to adulthood in a way.
And I can't even describe it. It's something that was happening beyond my critical mind, beyond my perception, the way we understand this. And also like give me like a pause about these are like rituals over there that they have been having for like thousands of years. This is something that's been passed on and on through the generations, and it was given by this plant medicine, and it just works. And we try to mimic it in our Western world. We just, I mean, this is super basic, like wash yourself and paint. This is something we do, like right. And sometimes it works more or less, but to the extent that it worked on me over there, it just how, like, it makes no sense with my Western mind to understand what actually happened over there, right?
Yeah, amazing. And also how you describe that first you have the in-between of the camera, right? You are also a documenter, a researcher, basically. You're there as an observer. And at the same time, you are catching on with the energy that's going on right there. And without you even actively stepping into painting and all of that, you felt the transition during that
And
night.
even with my critical mind, just it makes no
Yes.
sense. This is stupid. So I was not like priming myself. Oh, this is the most beautiful thing. I mean, it was
Right.
interesting and beautiful to watch, but it was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm tired, and so on. It still worked. Like, how?
And that's so fascinating that you're actually taken by surprise by
Yeah.
yourself. Like
Yeah.
yourself is surprised the next morning, like the critical you, and then there's also the wonder you
Yeah.
that opened up and received this energy as well. And I think that's really beautiful. That's magic, I would say, of these rituals and being invited into that, and also not being forced into it, but or not being under the influence of drugs or plant medicine, but to really be present to it. And I think that's in your story, I hear that as a really beautiful experience of this this thing that you went through. Wow, thank you. And then I was also wondering, in other parts of your life, were there moments that were full of awe? Maybe very small things, maybe something amazing like the Grand Canyon. I don't know. Could be anything that really shaped your path. For instance, that had you meet people that have now impacted your life, something like that.
I mean, the things that are like awe, that create awe in me are like usually nature. That always works.
Yeah.
I remember just crying like a baby in Iceland, just driving like 4 seasons of the year in 1 hour, and it was just so amazing, all the cliffs and so on. But also music. I'm also a musician, and it also always have been very like, I know, just some sounds just move me a lot, and to an extent that I realized that it's not normal in a way that other people don't get it like I do, and
That's cool.
And people as well. I mean, you meet different people on your path, and some of them just just change things, and
Yeah, can you give me an example of a piece of music or maybe an instrument or something that maybe I can share in the show notes with people as well, how that really taps into your strings, your inner strings?
You'd like me to tell you, or you'd like me to share the?
Well,
So
I think to tell
the
me,
thing.
and then I'll share them in the show notes so people can
Okay,
have a
I
listen.
mean, the thing that touches me, like mundane thing, is if there's a piano next to me and I just press the piano key, I'm like, oh, I'm already like already like melting.
Yeah,
And then I can share like a piece of Icelandic music, by the way, that moves me very much. So
beautiful. I love Icelandic music myself.
yeah.
The language is very mystical to me because, of course, I don't speak it, so that's part of it. But it's also, I feel like there is a different kind of vibe almost in which they create music. So many Icelandic artists are so, I mean, awe-inspiring, I would say. Yeah, I listen to it a lot.
I mean, the number of amazing musicians per capita they have is like unmatched
I
throughout the
know,
entire world. Like,
exactly.
how do you produce so many amazing musicians? How?
Yes, yes, I know. That's what I had as well. I've never been to the country yet, but I hope to go one day. Um, and is there a band or some musician you can mention that is really somebody that really nurtures your soul?
It changes. I mean, what
Okay.
I also have with music is that music, I can't listen to music I used to listen to 20 years ago. So it just doesn't work. It's
Okay.
just like music for me is for a specific time of my life, and
Ah,
then let's forget about it. I mean, I can still listen to it every now and then, as a, you know,
as a memory lane, maybe,
yeah,
like
exactly.
watching old
But
photographs. Yeah.
exactly, but I don't listen. So yeah, I can send you a couple of tracks that I enjoy. But whether there's an artist, there was one artist actually recently, and that was also interesting. Alongside my African journey with Iboga, I started listening to some African music because I realized that these days I had this stupid Western mindset that Africa is behind with everything,
Oh,
and I
you
had the
noticed that you had this mindset.
yeah, and I realized that not that their music is behind because they have amazing music, but that they are poor, so they probably don't have music that's well produced. And I had this stupid idea in my head, and then I started finding artists that were like, oh shit, this is like this is like next level. It's like so amazing. And there's one artist I can also like share the. I can't even say his name, so
It wouldn't do him justice if you say the name wrong,
I'm
right?
not gonna. I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, let's put them in the show notes. And
Yeah.
I'm really curious about this music. And I love how you also notice that you are challenged in your thinking because you are
Mhm.
open to exploring it rather than judging it from a
Yeah.
distance, saying, "Oh, yes, they have less chances to produce properly or
Mhm.
professionally." And then you find out as you research it that there is so much amazing
Yeah.
stuff out there.
I mean, even with the, being at that village over there in Gabon, like, the way we say people live in poverty. Yes, they live in poverty over there. They have nothing. They have just, uh, wooden shelter they call home. They have almost nothing in it.
Hmm.
They're poor. They don't have jobs. This is
Yeah,
poverty.
yeah,
But for some reason, they are like, they don't care about this at all. Like,
yeah.
it's not a problem. They don't
They're
consider
alive.
themselves they consider they don't consider themselves being like in poverty or whatever, like,
Yeah.
it's just.
So even that is just a notion that we have that what a rich life or a good
Mhm.
life is. It can differ from
Yeah.
person to person, but maybe also in community. If you feel like you're a part of a community, you are living a rich life.
Mhm.
You are cared for and
Yeah.
you're held by the rest of the people.
Yeah, but also not, I don't want to also romanticize this because it is also in a way a rough culture
Yeah.
that's not, so warm in a way. It's
Okay.
warm in a different way
All right.
than we are, like, and I can't even describe it. I don't want to even do it because I'll probably just butcher like what it actually is.
Hmm.
But also I just want to just put it out there that there it's different. It's
Yes.
just different, and
Yeah.
this is like basically what I want to say. That it's different than what I would have ever thought and what we think, right?
Yeah. 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 And it also has opened you up to different ways of being, not just your own
Mm.
way you grew up, the way
Yeah.
you're used to, and it opens up your perception, which I think is awesome in
Oh yeah.
itself. And
Yeah.
then, so from your own culture, is there anything that really has stuck with you and that is of great value to you and that you would like to pass on in your working with people?
From my culture, like
Yeah,
from Polish culture.
from your original culture, whatever that might be for
Mhm.
you.
Let me think. Yes, there's one thing that I can point out, and that would be the directness that we have in
Ah,
Poland.
okay.
That, when you ask someone in Poland, how are you? It's shit. And that's it. People just don't pretend. They just
Right.
don't say anything. I mean,
You don't say fine and then,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Just one word or two words, and that's it. Like very direct,
yeah,
and it's been also like a very interesting experience for me to, spend time in America and learn the culture of small talk and what it's all about. And it's amazing in a contrast to what we have in Poland, where no one talks to no one, like in the street, and over
yes,
there everyone talks to everyone.
yeah,
Uh, but this directness is something that it's great, especially for work I'm hoping to do.
hmm,
That that it's easy to to be like indirect in giving feedback and not to hurt someone, not to
yes,
say
yeah,
but sometimes when you need to tell someone the truth, you need to, this is tell off that it's actually there, is to be bold enough to say
yeah,
what you want to say even if it's uncomfortable, right?
yes.
And
Yeah. And I think also addressing the things that the pain points, and
yeah,
it's going to hurt,
yeah.
but it needs to be felt. It needs to be uh, seen at face value. And
Mhm.
if we keep going around stuff, it will take years and years for people
Yeah.
to become alive. And I think, yeah, you're right in saying that sometimes we need to unlearn being polite and
Mhm.
correct and trying to tiptoe around people's feelings because we need to feel in order to be alive.
Yeah.
If we don't feel all there is to feel, which is awkwardness, shame, anger, and anxiety and all of this stuff, if we don't dare to go there, we will not grow.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think it's beautiful that you also say, this is what I want to to learn, or I want to take from my culture, is this directness, and it will come in handy when working with people.
And also like something that was interesting for me to find out is that, you know, there's a certain coldness in Poland in the relationship. I mean, it changes now, and also probably just was, you know, the way my parents were brought up, their parents, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little bit similar in a way what I experienced in Gabon, and it was interesting that there's also this, again, I'm not gonna hug you, I'm not gonna, you know, sweet things up for you, whatever. I'm just gonna tell you directly what it is and just deal with it, right?
Right. Wow. And did you feel like there was enough care when you were going to a dark place? Because that's sometimes what I feel when I do sessions with people and I go deep. I also really want to hold the space of care for them. That doesn't mean I give them tissues and hug them the whole time, but it means I'm very present to whatever comes up.
So there's two answers to this. If you're a client going for a retreat over there, then yes, you have enough care for all this. When you're going there for what is basically a shamanic training, this is a completely different pair of, you know, pants, because it's more like a Marines or SEAL boot camp, except for your
Yes.
mind. So it's different.
And do you feel you had to be tough, like really show a certain, I don't know, the word that came up was masculinity, but maybe that's not the right word, but a certain toughness to brace yourself?
Yes, because in the end, like this tradition is about you need to be okay in order to help other people. So especially even more so if you get back to your regular life, you'll be challenged by different things.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to, you know, put yourself into the right place before you get into the retreat and start working with people. So it, you know, and they won't be there to, you know, help you, lift you up or whatever. So you need to take care of yourself and you need to work your stuff through.
Yeah.
And it's also like, you know, and it's like it goes, there's very little time to do this. You know, you don't get like 10 years. You don't grow up in this culture. You don't learn this over years. You need to do this work very quickly and then, you know, retrain yourself. And, you know, it can be challenging, but, you know, this is that job. This is what the job requires, just the training, right?
Right. Yep. Yep. To get you ready for this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you feel it's most suitable for a certain type of person, or do you feel like it could be for anybody, this Iboga training or this Iboga treatment, I maybe should call it, ritual?
So you're asking about the actual treatment, or are you asking about the provider work?
I think what I'm asking is, like, if you are then an Iboga provider, who would be your clients?
So it's not for everyone in a way that you need to be in a certain place that, first of all, you need to want to change yourself.
Yes.
Because this will not do the work for you.
Okay.
So this is like the first thing. Yeah. And then also, like, there's some medical, you know, concerns that need to be tended. So there's like certain heart conditions and so on. There's the entire medical, you know, questionnaire and so on. Checkup that needs to be done. And also, like, for some of the mental illnesses, they are also like not supposed to. I mean, there's a lot of it's easy to, you know, to hurt someone with plant medicine if you do it in the wrong way. So there's a lot of, you know, stuff we need to look at to make sure that it's for everyone in terms of medical background or psychological background. Yeah, but also like mentality wise, you know, you also need to be in the right place too.
Yeah, so you really filter out the people that you feel can handle it, basically. Or
I mean, handle is maybe the wrong word, but you know, that are ready for it.
That are ready, yes.
And actually want to do this, because, you know, some people just want to pretend they do the work. It makes no sense, right? So
yeah, exactly. And also want to have a kind of a checklist of things they've done. Ayahuasca, I've done mushrooms, I've done, you know, I call it like the spiritual hedonism a little bit.
Yeah.
Trying to go into a certain state to enrich their, I guess, bucket list of experiences.
I mean, there's nothing wrong in this as well, because you can also, like, you know, just use Iboga to, you know, do to just experience things as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this needs to be out in the open and then considered if it makes sense and so on.
Yeah. So also your intention for going in maybe needs to be clarified before you do it.
Yeah, definitely. There's
Yeah.
a work around it that needs to be done.
Well, it's really interesting. For me, it's a totally new domain. So I'm really curious, and I like how your curiosity and your basically the way it called you, because it brought you to tears without you even knowing what it was, has led you into this, into going there and actually experiencing it with your whole being.
Yep.
I think that's a beautiful thing. Also, I'm wondering, to close this conversation, is there something you would like to share with the listeners that might inspire them, and something that is on your heart?
Yeah, I was thinking that I can share part of this tradition because you asked me to think about things that create awe and so on, and we tend to look for big things when we think about awe.
Yeah.
And one of the nicest and most beautiful thing about this tradition is that it says that life is the most important gift that you have received, and you got it for free.
Yeah.
And you don't need to pay a dime to live, to breathe. And originally you didn't need to pay a dime to find food and so on. This is just a culture we have created that requires this these days.
Yeah.
But when you actually consider your life as a greatest gift, you would be happy that you wake up every day, because it's not certain that you will wake up tomorrow. And if then in turn you consider this as the greatest gift, and you don't know if you wake up tomorrow, you would do everything in your power to make this day the best day it is, right? And you would do nothing to hurt yourself. And we quite often get caught up in bad relationships, or we focus on the past. 30 years ago my mama or my dad told me something, and I'm still like having trouble with, like, just don't, right? Just enjoy your life. And I know it's easier said than done, and I've had to put a lot of work to change my patterns, but
it's something you really like to
it's just each day you get up,
just
be happy that you get up.
Yes. Well, for now, I am really happy that I got to speak to you today, and I'm really happy that we met, because I also feel like these things, when something is sort of brewing under the surface, I felt like this Awecast was brewing. I wanted to do a podcast for years, and I never got to doing it. And then one day I just decided I'm going to meet people this year, and I'll make a list and I'll interview people. And you were one of them, and you were like, yes, I'll do it. And it's so great, because it flows. And that's what I really love about these conversations. And I hope the flow of them will also inspire people as they listen to the Awecast. So bring more on that way.
It's amazing to talk to you. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Great.
And it's a wrap. Thank you very much for listening to the Awecast today. My name is Dorchester Koning. I'm the founder of Awe Academy, a center for professional and personal development through training outdoors and with art. If you're interested to know more, look me up on aweacademy.live.